Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Yes Dear podcast. My name is Dana Lyons. I'm here with my, what do
Your
I call
what?
you? You're my sweet husband, Patrick. I could have said many
That's
things, but I'll
that's
just
not what
stick
I
with
thought you were going to
truth.
say, but I'll
I
take it.
wasn't, but when I saw your face, I had to change that.
Aw.
No, welcome back. Today we're going to dive deeper. Last week we talked about boundaries, and we did mention that we were going to talk about passive aggression, in future weeks. So we decided we're going to do that today. And I think we could all benefit of just unpacking what does that mean? How do we all do it? And we're always seeking to become better and better communicators with each other,
Yeah.
especially in our marriage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is I feel like every week I go, "Oh, this is a topic I'm really excited about," or "This is a topic I'm really passionate about." Um but I hate to say it, but this is a topic I'm really passionate about. Um because it works well, for a variety of reasons. One,
Yeah.
understanding it, knowing what to do about it. I think
Mhm.
that's more important, is knowing what to do about it. But more than anything, I am just happy to be here with you
Are
again.
you? It's
I am.
Friday.
I know, but
You're almost done.
I haven't seen you in a week since the last time we
I
recorded.
know. What you been doing?
I've been,
Hockey's
I
over. What else is
know,
over? Well,
I've been
baseball.
working. So
Snooze
I got to
away.
tell you, I caught up with a friend of mine this morning. His name is Nathan Cook. Anybody
Mm.
out there who's looking for another good podcast to listen to, check out his More Than Before podcast, because it's really good. And I'm not just saying that because I was on it once,
Well, they
although
don't have to listen to that episode. They can
I
listen to all the
was a
other
pretty
ones.
good episode. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty good. But no, Nathan said he's been listening to this show,
Mm.
and he said it's really good. But he said I'm enjoying listening to you. It sounds like you're whipped. I said, I said, what?
Oh,
I said,
that's too funny.
hon, you don't think I'm whipped, do you?
Of course not.
I said, what? So he's stupid, but no,
He's your friend.
I know.
Mm. You know that phrase, you are who you hang with.
Mm.
Mm. Just
I
saying.
guess so. Me and Nathan are breaking up now, I guess.
Mm.
Okay. Well, no, it's good to hear that he's been tuning in. And I guess if anybody is worried about me, I'm okay. I'm okay in this relationship.
Mhm.
I'm not whipped. I
Yeah.
don't.
Just continue. Just
Okay.
continue with the rest of
All
the
right.
program.
Should we talk about should we talk about passive aggression? This is one of my favorite topics. So
Why is that?
why? Because I think because it's a for so many of us use um the label passive aggression or passive aggressive as as a weapon.
Mm.
I talk about that more because I think when you understand what it is, it becomes so much easier to diffuse it, to resolve it.
Mm.
And I gotta tell you, I mean, if you could do nothing but remove passive aggression from your relationship, if you did nothing else, it would improve your communication. It would significantly improve the mood, right? Like, I mean, when you're in any social setting and anybody does something or says something
Sure.
passive aggressive, I mean, everybody kind of freezes and they're like, "Oh,"
Hmm.
like
Awkward silence.
awkward silence
The
until
side
somebody
eye.
goes, yeah, and then yeah, side eye, and then somebody will go, all right,
Okay.
moving on, right?
Yep.
And we just leave it there, and it never gets resolved, and that can build up in a
Yeah.
marriage. It's something that doesn't resolve itself. I think that's
Yeah.
so when you understand what it is, and more importantly, what to do about it, man, it removes real tension from your relationship, which then creates the opportunity for us to be closer in our
Yeah.
communication. We learn more about each other, more intimacy, which is what we're all trying to find and get to. Um, So yeah, and I would also say this is like when the understanding, the knowledge you're gonna get in the next 20 minutes is not only useful in your marriage, it's incredibly useful in your marriage, but it's useful in every relationship where passive aggression exists.
Sure.
Um, so that's why I'm passionate about it. I think
Well,
yeah,
yeah, and I think everything that happens, to me, the marriage is the core. It's the core of us, right? You just go to the core of the family, and the marriage is core, and it just builds out from there. So when you work on your marriage, you actually become a better employee, you become a better employer, you become a better, parent, you become a better brother, sister, mother, all those things. You just
yeah,
become better. And because everything we have learned in marriage, you use in business, I use when I'm coaching, I use it. It's helped me with my own family relationships, and it just helps all the way around.
agree.
And this is a topic that hits all
Yeah.
of that.
And we've hinted at it in prior episodes, right? We talked about it specifically when we were talking about boundaries.
Yeah.
We said we'd talk about it then, or then, excuse me, when we did that, we said we'd talk about it later.
Yeah.
And it's because if you go back to the analogy that I painted in that episode, that visual of the fence circling, and ultimately encircling and engulfing you,
Yeah.
when you are at that place, you are far more likely to be passive aggressive, to respond in a passive aggressive way, because we're just fried, we're exhausted, because we're moving from a place of blah. I mean, we don't have to rehash that episode, but this is passive aggressive behavior is one of the things that manifests from
Yeah.
that place of feeling exhausted
Sure.
and like living for everybody else but myself, not having those good, solid, healthy boundaries. So it's just a continuation of that conversation.
Hmm. So lead us, teach us what,
All
take
right.
us into it.
I can do that. So I like to lead with right off the bat, passive aggression or passive aggressiveness is not an actual behavior. It's an umbrella. It's a think of it as it's a container within which are a lot of different behaviors that fall under the label
Right.
passive aggressive. So like passive, and the reason I say that, we like to label people as passive aggressive. I'm sure a lot of people are listening. Maybe their wives and think, oh yeah, my husband's passive aggressive, or my wife is passive aggressive, or my mother is passive aggressive, whatever. We like to label people as passive aggressive, but um, really passive aggressive is an umbrella label for a whole lot of different behaviors
Yeah.
that all happen under the right circumstance. And that's, we're going to get to that, what that circumstance is in a minute. But when you understand the circumstance, for when you understand the environment that grows passive aggressive behaviors, you understand there is no one who is immune. Every one of us
Hmm.
has the capacity for passive aggressive behavior. Every one of us is passive aggressive under the right circumstance. So some of those behaviors are like the silent treatment, right? That you see that a lot in the marriage, right? Where I'm pissed at you, but I'm just not saying it. So I'm going to give you the silent treatment.
Hmm.
Like nasty sarcasm, that mean sarcasm. I don't mean like silly sarcasm, but it's that biting sarcasm where I'm hitting you in a spot that I know is going to hurt. But then I go, ha, I'm just kidding. Come on. What are you getting upset about? I'm just kidding. Right. That is a passive aggressive
Yeah,
behavior.
but why wouldn't it be the silly sarcasm? Because if it has the same undertone, wouldn't it still be considered passive
And I think,
as opposed to cutting?
yeah, to me, silly sarcasm is, I think it speaks to intent. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
my, where am I move? What's the place that I'm moving from? Am I
Right.
moving from a place of woundedness? Am I really trying to hurt you? To me, when I say silly sarcasm, it really is just moving from a place of fun and silliness and like,
Yeah. Okay.
a place of trying to make you laugh, not a place of trying to hurt you because I'm feeling hurt and wounded.
Mm.
Um, Good clarification. But there are even other like passive aggressive behaviors, like when the angry outbursts are
Hmm.
a passive aggressive behavior. I know in that sense we might think, no, it's aggressive aggressive, but it's a behavior that happens. It's one way that people move from that place of like ultimate frustration and woundedness, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. So angry outbursts, throwing things, calling each other names, um, leaving and going to the bar is like I'm avoiding. It's definitely aggressive, but it's passive. I'm just kind of, there are all kinds of behaviors that are that are examples of passive aggressive behavior. And every
Mhm.
one of us, we all have our go-to move. I think mine, what would you say? I feel like my passive aggressive behavior when I get to that place probably is that, like biting sarcasm. It might be that. Or actually, no, you know what? I think it came up this week, just so you know, I'm not perfect. Anybody who thought I was, like, when you hear somebody go, whatever, that's passive aggressive. And I did that to you this week. And you called me on it. And then I immediately had to go, oh, yeah, that was bad. That was a passive aggressive behavior. So there are all different ways that it manifests. Um, Now, how does it manifest? Or why does, maybe not how, why does it manifest? So here's the visual that I'm a visual guy. Here's the
I'm visual
visual.
too, so I get it. Mhm.
Here's the visual that it's the greatest understanding of what passive aggressive behavior actually is, or how it why it happens. Passive aggression is the prison halfway between strong negative emotion and silence, comma, and the lock is on the inside. So I'll say it again in case anybody, I guess they can rewind it. But if you don't want to rewind it, passive aggression is the prison. Think of a prison. It's the prison halfway between strong negative emotion and silence. And the lock is on the inside. So let's talk about the prison first. I'm frustrated by something. I'm angry. I'm bitter. I'm disappointed. I'm resentful. I'm hurt. There's some strong negative emotion. I'm exhausted. I'm at my wit's end, right? That's why it comes out in the boundaries. Like, I'm engulfed by my fence. I can't think straight.
Mhm.
I'm in that place, and I'm not giving voice to it. We talked last week about who do you need to have a conversation with to reset
Right.
your fence,
Yeah.
or who do you need to say no to, or who do you need to minimize your involvement, right? To love from a distance. But I'm not doing that. So I've got this strong negative emotion on one side. On the other side is silence. I'm choosing not to say anything or resolve it.
Yeah.
I have locked myself in a prison that it's my own making, and the lock is on the inside, which means the only way that I can be released from that prison, no one can let me out. I have to choose to give voice to that frustration or that resentment or whatever that strong negative emotion is. We all think we're doing a great job of just keeping
Mhm.
it to ourselves. No
Sure.
one is. None of us is that good at keeping that strong negative emotion bottled up and
Yeah.
hidden. It comes out in passive aggressive. Like, again, think about just, if when somebody just folding their arms and scowling, right, sitting at the table,
Wait,
or
wait, wait, wait. I do that naturally, people say. Like,
I
I
know,
don't smile a lot. That doesn't mean I'm just kidding. But I
no,
do that a lot naturally, but that doesn't mean I'm angry.
this actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd like to think of this. We're going to call this the intervention episode. This
Oh,
is really for you.
right.
But that's a passive aggressive behavior. I think you're, to your point, there are
I'm
some
just
people who
kidding.
just,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
who just don't naturally smile, but you can tell
Yeah.
what, right? You can
You can
tell when
feel the
somebody's,
energy.
dude, you can, somebody say, and you're like, what's wrong? Nothing. Really?
Hmm.
Because there's something.
Yeah,
That person has locked themselves in a prison.
yeah.
There is, on one side, there's some strong negative emotion, and they have chosen silence. So they've locked themselves in the prison, and it's going to come out
Hmm.
in some passive aggressive form, the ones we talked about. So the only way to be released from that prison is to give voice to whatever it is that you're carrying. So I like to say all the time, the best tools are mirrors, not hammers,
Hmm.
which means, like, don't listen to this episode and then go beat your spouse over the head and say, come out of that prison. why have you locked yourself? I mean, okay, that's nice. We'll get to that in a second. To me, start in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like when, because every one of us, there are things that we choose to like lock ourselves in a prison about, where like you've talked about expectations so many times before, Dane. All right. So my expectations weren't met.
Yeah.
And if I have any kind of disappointment or resentment or bitterness or anger about any kind of negative emotion about my expectations not being met, either the date that we had or in the bedroom or wherever it might be, if I've got that strong negative emotion because my expectations were met and I'm not having a conversation with you, I'm locking myself in that prison, and it's
Mhm.
going to come out in passive aggressive ways. And basically, we're punishing the other person, but no one's happy in that
Yeah.
place. You're stuffing, you're bottling. So start in the mirror before you try to fix your spouse. Start in the mirror and ask, where have I locked myself in a prison? And what do I need to do to come out? Who do I need to have a conversation with? Or not, since we're really talking about marriages, what do I need to have a conversation with my spouse about so that I can release this strong negative emotion? How do I speak it? How do I talk about it? Like, hey, can we talk about, we talk about this all the time. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
So I can't go, it's not your fault. It's like you make the problem, not the spouse the problem. It's like, hey, can we talk about how this is going? Can we talk about how that went? Um, I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. And I realize it's risky, but there's intimacy in those
Yeah.
conversations. There is no intimacy in that prison that you lock yourself in because you're all by yourself.
For sure.
Your spouse isn't in there, and you're just bottling. You're in your own head. Right? That's the opposite of intimacy. So starting in the mirror, when you have that,
Mhm.
when you do something that is passive aggressive, rather than like, okay, let's just pretend I didn't do that. Let's like, can we just ignore that happened? Like,
Yeah.
own it and ask the question, what do I need? What do I need to talk about? What do I need to release? What do I need to give voice to so that I can come out of this prison? Because as long as you stay in there, it's going to continue to come out in passive aggressive ways. Now let's talk about how you can help your spouse. Not You cannot pull your spouse out of that prison. You cannot.
Mhm.
Right? Good luck trying to get your spouse to do anything.
Yeah.
But we talked earlier about like when you're in that social setting, or even when you're with your spouse, and they do something or say something that is passive aggressive. There's a form of passive aggressive behavior. Rather than get pissed at them, and
Mhm.
like we always say, like, there's no benefit in matching dysfunction with dysfunction. You always say you don't have to step into the chaos,
You don't
right?
have to step in the chaos, but we fall for it all the time.
We do, right?
Yeah.
So when you see me respond in a passive aggressive way, you can either step into the chaos with me, right? You can shoot back. Someone could argue you're well within your right,
Right.
but then you're doing that from a place of like protecting yourself
Yeah.
instead of remembering, hey, my spouse has locked themselves in a prison. They're upset about something and they're not giving voice to it. That's why it's coming out this way. So, whenever you encounter passive aggressive behavior, again, from a spouse, from a parent, from a child, from anybody you work with, rather than like, again, do the side eye and go, oh, okay, let's move on. But
Mhm.
you leave that person in the prison. Basically, that person is saying, I'm stuck. I'm
Yep.
here. I'm stuck. I'm bottled up and I don't know what to do about it. So when I see it, I don't always do it. I mean, we don't always do it, but when I see it, to me, those are real opportunities to lean in with love and care and concern and say, like, again, don't take it personally,
Yeah.
but to say, wow, I can tell you're upset about something. Like, let's talk. What's going on? Like, how are you? And it doesn't, the person's not always going to, they may not be ready. and that's where you don't want to, you cannot pull someone out. You don't want to force
Yeah,
it, but there's a much better chance that they will engage with you from that place than if
mm,
you fire back with your own sarcasm and your own, like, hey, whoa, hey, that, you know what I mean?
totally. Well, totally. It's never what you say, it's how you say it. It's, I just had a couple of conversations actually on this very topic about difficult family members and having hard conversations. And how can we do differently, right? Because I think this is one of those areas we could, all of us, nobody gets communication down right all the time.
Right.
Everybody always has room to improve. And I think we could either do that side eye, we could roll our eyes, we could walk away, we can ignore, because there's some families that is like, we don't talk about things.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't talk about things. And so what happens is something happens, and then immediately you get that belief system of, oh, we don't talk about things. And you're like, all right. And then you walk away and you don't say anything. Or we can choose to flip the table and charge at the thing, and not charge at your spouse,
Right.
but charge forward to address the thing rather than dodge it in a very passive way back at just in a different form that maybe they shot it out.
Yep.
And we can just straight up say, obviously there's something else going on in there. Is there something I've done?
Yeah.
Call out the behavior in a way that the other person knows, all right, there's something you're throwing down that I'm picking up basically.
Right.
And we probably need to talk about this. Or are you okay? Because it sounds like you're really hurt.
Yeah.
You can just call out the feeling too. Like, it sounds like you're
Yeah.
really angry and I'd love to talk about it. Or do you want to share, what's going on? Rather than like, that's passive aggressive. And,
Yeah. You
and
always do that. Why? Yeah. What are you mad at me for? Right. I mean, it's a place of real concern. Like,
yeah, because
and
then
it
we just
might
shoot,
be
then it becomes a power struggle.
totally. Well, I mean, then we're just shooting at each other, right? We're
Mhm.
just to your point. And here's the thing: you might actually, like, whatever this strong negative emotion that you're not giving voice to, it might be directed at me entirely.
Mhm.
So the question again, like, if it's genuine concern, I don't want you there. I don't want you feeling that way. I don't want you locked in that prison. I don't want to be the cause of you feeling like that. So genuine concern is like, I've asked this question before. What am I doing or not doing
Mhm.
that you need me to do differently? Like, what am I doing that you need me to stop? What am I not doing that you need me to start, to, like, so that we don't have, so that you don't have to bottle anything. You don't have to stuff it.
Mhm. Yeah, I talk a lot about honoring your own voice, because a lot of where the passive aggression comes from, right? It's that silence.
Yeah.
And I find that when I look back at my life, in my own growth, y- and I hear this all the time. Once I call it out and people are like, yeah, the we will do, whether it be that we are people pleaser, we fear rejection or abandonment, or we struggle with perfection, all those things cause a lot of people to do things to please everybody else, and yet and to listen to all the other voices, but the one person we don't listen to and give voice to, and allow to be heard, is our own.
That's it.
So I was like, yep, I could do that. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. And then before long, we're carrying everything for everybody. And the one screaming inside that we keep going, shh, shh, don't, shh, no, just do it. You don't talk. Nope, it's not safe. And we just ignore. Meanwhile, our soul's crying out, like, I can't breathe, or I can't take on anymore, or this is not right, or I feel unhurt, or whatever. And we're the ones not giving voice to what we're really feeling.
Yeah.
And so once and when I learned that I was doing a lot of my own silencing,
Mm.
right? It's not always all these people that seem to be hurting us are silencing us. A lot of times mine was silence. I go dark, I go cold. I'll go deep within. I can keep it all in. If I'm angry, mad, scared, afraid, whatever, I can just go cold. I need to process before I verbalize, but oftentimes I probably would do more of the silent treatment in the past because it's like I don't know how to handle the anger and the fear, and then fear what is going to be the consequence if I share, all of that kind of stuff. So the one I will silence the most is my own self.
Right.
But in the process, then it comes out in all these ugly ways. And the hardest one to forgive oftentimes is when you finally come to grips with, oh, the one I'm not letting speak and have space and value and all of that like I am everybody else is myself. That's really hard. But when you can start to see that and start honoring your own voice, things begin to turn around.
I agree.
So yeah, so and a lot of before, there's a couple things I wrote down here. Before you talked about, which is one thing. So let me just go back to that for a second. I have couples do this, and I have women in the group that I lead do this, and I have friends do this because I'll check when I check on them and we're doing check-ins. This is why I started the exercise weekly in the women's group that I lead, because we at the end of every night, I always end with a struggle and a praise. This is not just like, hey, this is something fun to do in group. This is because every day there's something we all can and do struggle with, whether it be like, I'm struggling with energy. I'm wiped. What a week. I am frustrated in my marriage. This is why. Bleh. I have people do that because the more that you can actually connect to your own feelings and
Yeah.
own your struggle to get this up and out, and you're connecting to them, the
Yes.
less they stay inside and the less energy that's staying and destroying your own physical body, because it takes a toll. It then comes out properly because we're
Yep.
now just putting it in the light.
Right.
There's a reason why I do that. And then I always then ask, give me your struggle, and they share, and we're not there to fix each other. All we do is say, thanks for sharing, and we move on. Because we're not there to fix people. And when it's sharing time, whether it be couple or in your accountability friend group, you're not there to fix each other. Matter of fact, it does more harm. And it's the same in a marriage. It's like women share with their spouse, with their husband, because they want to share. We don't always want you to fix anything, but just to be able to get this up and out, acknowledge.
Right.
Otherwise, that stuff stays inside, and then we really spit it out in unhealthy ways, which we're talking about today. So I have them share a struggle and a praise, all for the benefit of your own soul, and to know you struggle too. Oh, I struggle too. We're all in this boat together. We all have something we struggle with, and then I have them share a praise, or another way to say this: just tell me something good that happened today. Because the truth is, it's perspective, right? It's like, yeah, we always have something that there's always gonna be something, but the truth is, in every day, there's always something that's good that happened today. And so to end on a very positive note, to go, yeah, I may struggle, but this also is happening. That's good. It's not one or the other, it's both and. So I do that. The second thing, you said something earlier, which was, you talked about expectations. And you said, a lot of times our expectations aren't met, whether it's in an event or it's something. But where I think where those expectations, the big events are one thing, this big thing's going to happen. But when it comes to like the everyday, mundane, what we would call boring routine day, we have expectations on that as well. And let's just take our marriage as well. We have expectations. What's my husband supposed to, what is a husband? What is a wife? What does the husband do? We are trained from birth up from our own parents, good and bad, of what a husband should be. And if it's bad, sometimes we go to the opposite extreme of what we think our husband should be, and vice versa. We have all these different things. And so I think when it comes to this passive aggression, however it comes out, sometimes I think we have to go back when it's not like this big event that happened. We always have to do that self-check. We talk about a heart check, but we have to ask ourselves, do I have an expectation here?
Mhm.
Because the expectation might be, I have an expectation of what a husband is, and you're not meeting it. And that's not necessarily your fault. That's mine for having the expectation you don't know about. And
Right.
sometimes I don't know about them either until something like this comes up. And what we have learned in rebuilding our marriage or taking it to the next level is owning those expectations, talking about them, and then actually releasing them, because a lot of them they don't help us, to be able to release that and let those go so that you actually can enjoy the person that you're married to, so they can be all that who they really are and what they bring to the table, because we miss out on that because expectation has this stamp of what something should look like, and it's an exact, like, almost photograph, and when it doesn't meet that, you can't experience and enjoy really anything else because you're so focused on that thing looking a certain way. And so we will then cutting remarks, we will get quiet, we will pull away, we will shout,
Yeah.
and you have no idea what my expectations are.
Well, and we've talked about perspective before. You can, if you want to focus on all the areas that I'm falling short, or you want to
Yeah.
focus on all the ways that I'm not the perfect husband or the perfect man,
Yeah.
you're gonna find them. you're you're gonna find, you don't have to look that hard.
Mhm.
Or you can focus on what I actually do bring to the table, that, and it's not lowering your standards. It's I think it's acknowledging, it's just, what picture do you want to see? I think we've probably said this in other episodes. That's the saying: if you want to see the good or you
You
want to see
will.
the bad, you will.
You will. Yeah.
So which one do you want to see?
Yeah.
And yeah, but to your point, if I'm holding on to what you're not, then I'm locking myself in that prison,
Yeah.
because instead of enjoying who you are, um, there are ways. I think there's not a marriage alive, that there's not a marriage in existence where each partner turned out to be a little bit less than expected
Mm.
to their spouse, right? Because we have these fairy tale views of what marriage is going to be like, or my marriage is going to be like, or
Mhm.
you're going to the perfect wife or the perfect um so we've all fallen short of those expectations, but we've also all exceeded those expectations in ways that are wonderful and magical and surprising and beautiful and really rewarding. And so that's where I want to focus. That's where I'd like
Mhm.
you to focus.
I'm
I'd
getting
like
there.
you.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just trying to give you more to work with. But
Mm. Okay.
yeah.
Mm. Well, there's one other thing that you said in the beginning. So you're like, passive, um, you said even like angry outbursts or throwing things,
Yeah.
is also passive aggressive. And
Yeah.
yet it's very
Actually,
aggressive. How is it passive? Can you explain
yeah.
the two?
I
Because
so the ultimate behavior of the angry outbursts, the throwing things, right? You don't get there the first time. So the passive aggression is the continuous stuffing and stuffing and stuffing and stuffing until it comes out in a very aggressive way. So it's the passive aggression is me stuffing it the first 9 times and then exploding on the 10th. Whereas if I can master the art of recognizing when I'm in that prison, something was disappointing, something was frustrating, and I master the art of giving voice to it, addressing it
Mhm.
with you in the moment and not stuffing it, then those angry outbursts go away. The throwing things go away. The um yeah. Does it help? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying it's the passive aggression that leads then to aggressive behavior?
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay. Because you said it before, I was like, wow, I've never heard somebody say like throwing things or the screen.
Well,
That to
because
me is
it's a
aggressive,
passive
aggressive.
aggressive behavior in that it's a it's I'm avoiding the
The real
actual
issue.
the real issue
Gotcha.
through this other behavior, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's so sarcasm. I'm avoiding the actual issue. I don't know, dealing with it like an adult. That would be
Mhm.
nice. Like, hey, can we talk about that? My feelings are hurt, or that I'm disappointed, or I'm frustrated, instead
Mm.
of this. all kinds of ways that we cut each other down, um, so passive aggression to me, those behaviors are deflections. It's like sleight of hand. I'm showing you this over here when really this over here is that's the issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So what would we, okay, so to wrap this up, what would you say to somebody if they're like, oh yeah, I do that? How would you,
yeah,
any tips?
I'd say first and foremost, before you try to fix anybody, just start in the mirror. Pay attention to your own tendency. Accept and acknowledge that you are passive aggressive. Welcome to my club.
Mhm,
Every one of us does it. Welcome to the club. Accept that this is a thing that you do
mhm.
when you are locked in a prison halfway between some strong negative emotion that you're not giving that you're not giving voice to. And so where have you locked yourself in a prison? I promise you, people know, even if you think you're hiding it. Your spouse knows, especially because they see you on a regular, they've seen you at your best. So where you are there, do the work of giving voice to whatever the frustration is, whatever the disappointment is. That will release you from, and to your point earlier, maybe it's not immediately having the conversation with your spouse, but maybe it's finding a trusted person that you can say, here's a struggle that I have. The danger there is you don't want to find a commiserator, right?
Mhm.
You want to find someone who's going to help you process and then turn that into, like, to me, the question I always like to ask when somebody when somebody brings that stuff to me is like, awesome, what do you want to do with that? Great.
Yeah.
Right? How do you want to, what can you do to show up differently, right?
Mhm.
To make things better. So first and foremost, start in the mirror. And then second, when you see it from your spouse, if this is a regular behavior that you're getting from your spouse, create the safety, like approach them with care and concern. And when it happens, just rather than lean out, lean in
Yeah.
and say, wow, okay, I can hear the frustration. Tell me what's going on, right? With
Yeah.
not, again, don't enter into the chaos, but meet them where they are and invite them to unlock themselves and give them an opportunity to give voice to.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what would you say?
But I find I would tell people, I often ask, did you have an expectation? Sounds like you had an expectation there. Maybe you didn't know about it. Check yourself. Was there an expectation? Because although that causes problems, it's not necessarily the spouse's fault or the person's fault.
Right.
But it's still one to be talked about. Um, and then the other one is really start practicing your daily struggle and praise.
Mm.
If you find this is a chronic problem for me, I don't speak, and I'm a stuffer, and I do this with everybody. You can get an accountability part, a friend who will be raw. I don't mean the girlfriends or the friend will just be like, yeah, cool, okay. I mean, and not the ones who are going to be like, you're wonderful. No, I mean ones who really, yeah, I'll change with you. Just
Yep.
practice doing a struggle and a praise. And if you're in a marriage and you could do that with your spouse, I would start there. Because I just think owning it's reconnecting your emotion, which is something that I think you're ignoring if you're passively, being aggressive in some behavior.
Yeah.
So we start reconnecting. So
Yep.
that's where I would start.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's it. Now, before we sign off, can you tell Nathan that I'm not whipped? Is it okay? Is that fine?
I'm not saying a word. I'm gonna just let you handle Nathan.
He's gonna, damn
Hi,
it.
Nathan. That's all I'm gonna say. So with that, we're gonna wrap up the show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, if you I just say if this helps you, share it, pass it along. Also drop us, drop a comment or drop a review. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Tell Dana that I'm not whipped. That would be, there's
Mm.
strength in numbers, whatever.
Actually, it would be cool is how do you see passive aggressive. How do you see it coming out of you? Drop that comment in the comments below. I
There you
think that'd
go.
be kind of neat. That's a good accountability. Just put it in light.
I like that too.
Yeah.
That's way better than my idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm the better half.
Yes, dear.
Ah, you got it right. I'm so
going
proud
in.
of you. Give me a high five.
I feel like
Yes.
whenever we work that in, like confetti should drop from the ceiling and
Yeah.
like balloons.
How come it doesn't start?
We should both have that in our room, but only one can drop per episode.
Oh,
So
yeah. If somebody could figure that out for us, that'd be great. Drop that in the comments too.
I
So,
win.
okay.
I win.
Well, you can win. That's okay. You're
Awesome.
more competitive than me.
That's fair.
I'm just here to love you.
And
I get to.
you get to.
That's right. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.